It was just a Tuesday. You were heading down from the 40th floor, checking your phone, thinking about what to have for dinner. You pressed the button, the doors hissed shut, and for a second, everything was normal. But then, a jolt. A sound like a giant snapping a guitar string made of steel. Suddenly, the cables were gone, and you were trapped in a falling metal coffin, plummeting toward the earth at the mercy of pure gravity. The pleasant elevator music is instantly replaced by a screaming siren. The digital floor display glitches out, flickering from 40 to a blood-red air. You scramble for the emergency button, slamming it with your palm, but the only response you get is a hollow, mocking silence. No operator, no help is on the way. Just the sound of wind rushing past the steel box, and the terrifying sensation of being caught in a descent that refuses to stop. You're in freefall. In this vibrating cage, the laws of civilization have been replaced by the laws of Sir Isaac Newton. As the air resistance screams outside the shaft, your brain, desperate to survive, offers a brilliant solution. You remember a cartoon you saw once, or a playground myth. The jump. If you can just time it, if you can leap at the exact millisecond before the box becomes a pancake on the basement floor, maybe you can cancel out the death sentence. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? A final, defiant act of human will against the cold indifference of gravity. You imagine yourself hovering in midair, a slow-motion hero, while the elevator shatters beneath you. You just land softly on the wreckage, brush the dust off your suit, and walk away. But here's the problem. Your brain is currently high on adrenaline, and adrenaline is terrible at high-level physics. In this episode, we're going to dismantle the life-saving jump myth while you're plummeting toward the earth. We'll look at why your legs aren't powerful enough to fight a 10-story drop, why the ceiling is waiting to lobotomize you, and what the actual best position for survival is. I'm Abel, and let's find out why your perfect timing is actually just a synchronized dance with a funeral director. Let's look at the math, because physics doesn't care about your feelings. Suppose you're falling from about 10 stories high. By the time you reach the bottom, you're traveling at roughly 35 meters per second. That's about 126 kilometers per hour. To cancel out that momentum by jumping, you would need to propel yourself upward at the same speed. Now, let's talk about human limits. An Olympic-level high jumper might be able to launch themselves at about 3 meters per second. You? In a state of panic? You're lucky if you hit 2 meters per second. Do the subtraction. 35 minus 2 is 33. You aren't landing safely. You're just hitting the ground at 118 kilometers per hour instead of 126. It's like trying to stop a speeding freight train by throwing a tennis ball at it. But it gets worse. To actually push off with enough force to make a difference, you'd need legs made of carbon fiber and hydraulic pistons. The force required to cancel out that much downward velocity would likely snap your femurs, the strongest bones in your body, before your feet even left the floor. You're trying to use a wet noodle to deflect a falling anvil. And don't forget the floating problem we mentioned. In a free-falling elevator, you and the box are falling at the same rate. You are effectively weightless. To jump, you need to crouch, but as you try to bend your knees, you'll likely just push yourself away from the floor and drift toward the ceiling. You can't get the traction needed for a powerful leap when the ground itself is running away from you. So, the perfect jump theory fails the first test of basic mechanics. You simply don't have the horsepower to fight the Earth's pull. But let's say, for the sake of argument, you did manage to jump. Let's say you're a secret superhero. Even then, you've just traded one death trap for another. Welcome to your second enemy, the ceiling. Let's find out why going up is just as dangerous as going down. Let's play along with your fantasy for a second. Let's say you're an elite athlete with nerves of steel, and you manage to time your jump perfectly. You push off the floor, and for a glorious microsecond, you're ascending. But remember, you're inside a box that is still plummeting at terminal velocity. By jumping up, you've just initiated a high-speed head-on collision with the elevator's ceiling. Think about it. While you're trying to cancel out your downward momentum, the elevator is still falling. If you jump too early, you'll hit the ceiling while the elevator is still in midair. Now you've added head trauma to your list of problems. You'll be knocked unconscious or break your neck before the impact even happens. You aren't escaping, you're just tenderizing yourself for the final crash. And here's the cruelest part of the physics: conservation of momentum. Even if you jump, your body is still traveling downward at a lethal speed relative to the ground. The jump only changes your speed relative to the elevator. When that metal box hits the concrete, it stops instantly. But you're still moving. If you're mid-jump, you'll be slammed into the floor or the walls with the same kinetic energy, but now with the added bonus of being in an unstable, uncontrolled position. Imagine being inside a blender that someone just dropped off a cliff. Jumping doesn't turn off the blender, it just moves you from the bottom blade to the top lid. Whether you hit the floor or the ceiling, the total energy your body has to absorb remains the same. Physics is a zero-sum game, and in this game, your body is the only thing that loses. So, jumping is effectively a way to ensure you hit two hard surfaces instead of one. You hit the ceiling on the way up, and you hit the floor on the way down. It's a double tap from gravity. If jumping is a death trap, then what are you supposed to do? Is there any way to survive this? Believe it or not, there is a least worst option, and it involves becoming as flat as possible. Let's look at the survival posture that might actually save your life. If you can't jump and you can't stand, what's left? Gravity wants to crush you against the floor, so your best bet is to give it as much surface area as possible. This is the spreading the forces principle. Instead of standing like a lightning rod, you need to lie flat on the floor, right in the center of the elevator. It feels counterintuitive, like you're accepting your fate, but it's actually the only way to play the odds. Think about it. If you're standing, all that massive impact energy is focused on your tiny footprints. The force travels straight up through your ankles, knees, and spine, shattering them like glass. But if you lie flat, you distribute the G-force across your entire body. Your ribs, your back, your legs, everything shares the burden. It's the difference between being hit by a needle and being hit by a flat board. By lying down, you're also protecting your most vital asset, the brain. In a vertical impact, your brain can literally slam into the base of your skull, or your neck can snap from the sudden deceleration. Flat on the floor, your head is already at the lowest point, meaning it has nowhere else to fall. You're essentially turning your whole body into a giant, fleshy shock absorber. But don't just lie there like a starfish. Cover your face and head with your arms to protect yourself from falling debris, like the light fixtures or ceiling panels that will come down a split second after impact. You are essentially trying to become a two-dimensional object in a three-dimensional nightmare. Of course, I'm not saying you'll walk away with just a scratch. You're still in a metal box, hitting the ground at terminal velocity. You'll probably break some ribs, and it's going to hurt like a cosmic reset button. But broken ribs is a much better status than pasted on the floor. Now, before you start lying down in every elevator you enter, let's look at why modern engineering has actually made this entire nightmare almost impossible. Now, take a deep breath. I've just spent 10 minutes giving you a crash course in how to survive a plummeting elevator. But here's the reality. You will almost certainly never need to use any of it. In the world of modern engineering, an elevator falling freely to the ground is about as likely as a shark and a lion teaming up to steal your car. It just doesn't happen. Why? Because your elevator isn't held by a single string. It's supported by multiple steel cables, each one capable of holding the entire weight of the car on its own. Even if, by some miracle of bad luck, every single cable snaps, a mechanical system called safeties kicks in. These are heavy-duty metal wedges that slam into the guide rails, locking the car in place using pure friction. No electricity needed, just the raw, physical refusal to fall. And even if the safeties fail, the elevator shaft itself acts as a giant pneumatic brake. As the car drops, the air trapped beneath it has nowhere to go, creating a cushion of pressure that slows the descent. And at the very bottom, there's a massive hydraulic buffer, a giant spring designed to absorb the final impact. You aren't in a falling coffin, you're in a highly redundant survival capsule. The only recorded case of a modern elevator freefall happened in 1945 when a B-25 bomber crashed into the Empire State Building and severed the cables. The elevator fell 75 stories. The operator survived. Why? Because the tangled cables at the bottom acted as a giant spring, and she happened to be in the right position. It's a miracle of physics, but one that paved the way for the hyper-safe systems we use today. So, if you're ever in an elevator and it jolts, don't prepare your Olympic jump. Just relax. The machines are on your side. But if the world truly ends, and those cables do snap, remember, Don't jump, just lie flat and let surface area do the work. Thanks for watching this descent into physics. I'm Abel, and I'll see you on the ground floor. Stay grounded.